You get to put yourself in the hands of people who know what they're doing. You're going to have a great experience with it, and your book will actually get done, and you will get to be an author. And that's not a small thing. My name is Dr. Rebecca Kochenderfer, and I have to get used to saying doctor in front of my name because I went back to school in my 60s. I'd always wanted to have a doctorate, and I thought it was kind of at the end of COVID, and I thought this is a perfect time. So I went back to school, and yeah, I loved it so much. And I feel like it's inspiration for others too, that, it's never too late, my friends. If I can go back to school in my 60s, you can do these really cool things too. And my doctorate ended up being, it's an intersection between psychology, neuroscience, and mindfulness. And I call it mindful life design. And I just love this work. And it's the perfect time for me at this stage in my life to be delivering this work, to kind of guide the people coming up who are younger than me, hopefully helping them the same way that others helped me. I love writing books. I love being an author. I feel like that's part of my work in life. Mindful Living Made Easy is actually my 6th book. My first book was with Time Warner. It was a wonderful experience. I enjoyed it, and my ego loved being with a mainline publisher, a fancy New York publisher, but there were some drawbacks with that. So I love being able to have flexibility in how I market the book and how I get the book into people's hands, because I've written the book because there's an idea that I think is important and that will help people. And I like having the flexibility of figuring out what is working nowadays to get the book into more people's hands. The journey and the scary part for me was investing in the book up front. Okay, so it was nice that Time Warner gave me a check to write the book. It was a very small check. And like my sister-in-law looked at this and she said, you're going to step away from your business for 12 weeks and this is all you're going to make? I was thrilled, right? It was my first book deal. And I heard my husband say, ooh, my wife is an author. Felt great. And I found out that I love writing books. But now when you're self-publishing, one way or the other, you are going to have to invest upfront. You're going to have to take a chance. So the hardest part for me in this was that sitting on the swing with my husband out in the backyard, I had to say, hey, there's this thing I want to do, and it's going to cost this amount of money. And my husband is a questioner, and we both tend to be on the frugal side. So even though we've experienced a lot of abundance in our life, we tend to be very practical. And he wants to know absolutely that the book is going to pay for itself. You can't promise that with a book. And that's exactly what I said. I said, hey, I can't guarantee it, but I can tell you that the book will get done. And you know that I finish books because this is my 6th book. That's a comfort. But I can tell you, I can promise you that I'm going to do my very best to market this book and to promote the book because I believe in the book and I believe in the work. And then, of course, he and I have been married for 40 years. He loves me. He trusts me. Yeah. And then eventually I just said, it's really something that I would like to do. It's an experience I would like to have. No guarantees, but I would really like to do this. And so he was on board. But it was the investment up front that I found to be the scariest thing in the beginning, because you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. It took me a while. I was in fear mode in the beginning. And Sush is the person who really helped me with this. So I'd put down the money for the book and I was working on it, but I was still in angst mode. It's kind of scary because you don't know. And so I was able to have a call with Sush, and she's so generous. I found you both to be very generous with your time, and I so appreciate that. I needed some managing at the time because I was having a lot of fears come up, and she was just beautiful. She answered all of my questions. She answered all of my concerns. And also it really helped that I had done a lot of homework about Sush and global book publishing before I even said yes. And for example, I went to Amazon and I did a search for global book publishing, and I found the books that were associated with your name. And I just randomly contacted some of the authors. And I went to their websites and I emailed them and I said, "Hey, hi, my name is Rebecca Kochenderfer and I'm thinking about using global book publishing. What was your experience like with them?" Oh my gosh, they wrote me back right away. And the reviews were so positive, and the reviews online for Sush were very positive as well. So then when I was having that one-on-one call with her where she was talking me off the ledge, I found it to be true. She answered my questions, she comforted me, and then I was able to go, full ahead after that. I loved the table of contents, and then I would receive the material, and I knew the material was coming, so I was able to block it out on my busy calendar that this is going to be editing time, and even my family knew it, which is pretty sexy, don't you think? That's like, oh, I'm going to be editing my new book during this time. Felt really good, and it's pretty good role modeling for my daughters as well to see, oh, my mom writes books. It was cool. It was very fun. So then I just did that, and then you'd say, okay, here's something else for you to do, and great. And I did my best to do my job, to go through the book thoroughly, to look at your comments, to okay them, to ask questions when I had them. Didn't have that many questions. It was pretty darn good. And I was amazed at the number of editors you had working on the book. I found that to be very generous. The number of editors, the number of proofreaders, and the graphics coming in. And then I did my job, because my job at that point is that I was the fresh eyes. And then I loved how you let me record my personal stories to add them into the book. That method, it worked for me. I'm so grateful for that. The Amazon bestseller campaign. There's a part of me that was cynical about that. Like, and we do this to ourselves, right? Every one of our successes, our amygdala, our lizard brain downplays it. It's imposter syndrome. And so there was that part of me like, oh, it's not a New York Times bestseller. It's not a real bestseller. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. And I thought that you did a brilliant job on this bestseller campaign. And here's the thing that comes from a life of mindfulness and kind of doing the work is that when I was doing the bestseller campaign, it was an opportunity for me to connect with friends and family and to share my joy. There was so much joy around having the book and the cover and the contents, and to be able to share my journey with others, to say, oh my gosh, the book is ready. It's finally ready. And we're going to do this bestseller campaign on Amazon. And would you like to participate? Would you like to be part of this journey, of this joy? And of course, they loved it. And I could email back and forth, and I could send the reports and say, oh, it's number one in this category. Oh, it's number one with scientific research. Now it's number one in this. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. And there was so much love and joy involved in the process. You would think it would all be about this ego experience. It wasn't. It was a love experience, and it was connecting with others. And it was super fun. And I feel like it is absolutely a legit international bestseller. By October of the year, I was speaking on a large stage in Tokyo, Japan. Amazing. Yeah, I had such a good time, and I got to go back to Japan where I was an exchange student and I learned Japanese all the time. And I think that one of the reasons they said yes to me as a speaker was because I'm a book. I'm a book author, and people respect books and respect authors. We really do, even though books are not as commonplace as they once were. Nobody throws books away, and people really do respect authors. It's instant credibility. And I loved it, and I found out that I loved it. And then I've just got back from a month in Europe. So I was able to meet a member of the Maltese Parliament, and I had breakfast with him, and he said, Rebecca, may I give you some advice? I would like to see you bringing your methods to corporations. And then he wants to collaborate with me because he would like to do things in the United States. That's that corridor principle I was mentioning, that once you are on the path, doors of opportunity open that were not visible before. And this is different because before the book, and I do think that maybe it's the confidence that came from the book or the clarity, is I was not able to have any paid programs. I led some big free programs, but of course, the problem with free is that it doesn't financially support the work. And boy, I really learned that my lesson on that. I think that I'm being generous by doing it for free, but then I can't keep doing the work because it's not sustainable. So to be able to have people now who pay to be in my programs, wow, what a beautiful experience. And I have so much gratitude for that. And I'm on a different path now. Now I still, obviously I do things for out of generosity and for free, but I love being on the paid path now as well because I realize I'm not working for money, but the money is supporting my work. Even though I used a proofreader and I used an editor, it looked kind of homemade. And the cover just wasn't that great. So even with my other books, when I was hiring, an editor and a proofreader and somebody to do the cover, I had to invest in it. It ended up being the same as I spent with Global Book Publishing, but the quality was much better. And by the way, for those of you watching this, I'm not earning any money at all by mentioning Global Book Publishing. I'm doing this because I'm so extremely grateful to them. I have found them wonderful to work with, and I'm hoping that my candid testimonial here will help you. I would like to say that writing books and being an author is one of the highlights of my life. It's one of the things that I am most proud of. I'm very proud of my 40-year marriage, love marriage, raising three beautiful kids, um, having a business that Forbes magazine said was one of the top in the world. Those are lovely. And I also am so proud of the books. And here's a reason why. So much of what we do in life, you raise the children and then they're grown up. You cook a meal and then it goes into the dishwasher. You make a bed and it's unmade. But a book stays. It's a legacy. Even my businesses, I've sold homeschool.com, I've sold journaling.com, but the books are still out there. Even the book with Time Warner, they just sent me a notice saying how many books have been sold in the last month. Books have lasting power. They are a gift out there, and I find that to be really beautiful and comforting that something I have done is going to survive me. That's pretty cool.